I never thought parking my own truck in front of my house would lead to one of the most unbelievable battles with the HOA. But when you're dealing with Karen, the self-appointed queen of the neighborhood, nothing is too outrageous. This is the story of how she had my truck towed, only to discover that the title deed wasn't in her favor at all. It started on a Monday morning. I had just returned from a long weekend of work, exhausted, and I parked my truck right outside my home, the same spot I had used for years. To me, it was just another day. To Karen, it was her golden opportunity. She had always complained about my truck, calling it too big, too loud, and not in line with neighborhood standards. But the truth was, it wasn't about the truck. It was about control. Karen lived for drama, and she lived to make other people miserable under the excuse of HOA rules. The next morning, I came out with a cup of coffee in hand, only to find the space in front of my house empty. My truck was gone. For a split second, I thought it might have been stolen. My stomach dropped, my hands shook, and I dialed the police. But just as I was making the report, a tow slip was shoved into my mailbox. The HOA had ordered my vehicle to be removed. And at the bottom, Karen's signature was bold and clear. I could almost hear her smug voice in my head, bragging about how trucks weren't allowed in this neighborhood. To her, she had won. She had embarrassed me, left me stranded, and probably laughed about it with her little HOA board. But what she didn't know, what she could never have imagined, was that this wasn't just any truck. You see, I'm not just a homeowner. I'm a licensed contractor, and that truck wasn't privately registered. It was leased directly through the city as part of a utility contract. In plain words, it was government property under my management. And that meant when Karen ordered it towed, she hadn't just messed with me. She had interfered with state equipment. The realization hit me instantly. I didn't need to get angry. All I needed to do was make a phone call. I contacted the city office, explained the situation, and within hours, the tow company received a call they couldn't ignore. Not only did they have to return my truck immediately, but they were also slapped with a warning for illegally towing government-leased equipment. The irony. Karen had no idea she had just escalated this far beyond the HOA's reach. When the truck was brought back to my house, I stood outside waiting. Neighbors peeked through their curtains as the tow truck backed in, carefully unloading my vehicle. Karen stormed out of her house, waving her clipboard like a weapon. She shouted about rules and violations and how she had the authority to decide what vehicles could or couldn't be parked in the community. But the tow driver cut her off. He pulled out the paperwork from the city and explained, in front of everyone, that the HOA had no right to touch this vehicle. The color drained from Karen's face. She stuttered, tried to argue, but the crowd was against her. The neighbors, tired of her antics, finally had proof that her so-called power wasn't real power at all. She had overstepped, and now she was exposed. But I wasn't finished. I documented everything, the tow slip, the HOA notices, the return of my truck, and the city's involvement. With that evidence, I filed a formal complaint. The HOA was hit with a massive fine for tampering with government property. And Karen. She was personally named in the report as the one who initiated the order. The board members, once loyal to her, turned their backs. They didn't want her arrogance dragging them all into legal trouble. Within weeks, Karen was stripped of her position. No more late-night letters. No more bogus fines. No more power. As for me, I kept parking my truck right where it belonged, directly in front of my house. Only this time, it was different. Nobody dared say a word. The truck now carried a level of authority that even Karen couldn't challenge. It stood there like a reminder that sometimes the biggest bullies are